It's time now for County-Wide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Join Paul David and Brad Miller as they talk with our community's leaders, newsmakers, and people in the know. You'll hear about the hot topics that affect all our lives here in Yavapai County. And now, here's today's County-Wide.
Well, good day and welcome to the program. Brad Miller with you, and it is County-Wide, and we're happy to welcome into our studio. For the last couple of years, we've had this guest visit with us, Nov1Rice, Jackson Hewitt Rice Accounting in Cottonwood and other locations, is a sponsor of our program, and as such, we have had a lot of good contact with Lewis over the years, sponsors many things through Yavapai Broadcasting, but most importantly, and the reason that we know you, sir, is your vocation in life. Yeah. Taxman extraordinaire, accounting services, and we, through that, have come to rely on your expertise over the years, both personally with my family, perhaps here through the station and that, but for our listeners as well. And in the last couple of years, we've had you come in and kind of share some ideas, hints, tax tips, year-end things that folks may be looking forward to as they close out one tax year and head into the other. We're going to do that again today. So we say a good day once again.
Well, thank you, Brad. It's very good to be here. I appreciate that.
We're happy to have you come in again as a sponsor of the program. We thank you for that as well. Many things on our family of stations and on Studio G happen because of Nov1Rice and sponsors like Lewis. So when it comes time to talk these issues, you're the guy that we go to. There's a lot I want to throw at you today. Okay. Again, as we head toward the year end, a lot of times we'll visit about just things that folks out there maybe need to know, some changes in tax laws, and charitable gifting, I know, is something very, very important for folks to be considering, and many do at this kind of holiday time of year. But I also wanted to, if I can tickle your brain a little bit today about, as part of the 2012 presidential campaign, we're hearing different tax plans, Herman Cain's 999, flat taxes sure being bandied about, and maybe in the second half of the show. Can we do that?
We can.
And chat a little about that. I want to get some of that because I don't understand a lot of it, and I know that you'll have a good beat on it. So let's do that. But to start, as we get toward holiday time, this is when a lot of times folks do start thinking about charitable gifting. And certainly that's a good thing to do, I think, from a lot of perspectives. There's certainly a lot of folks out there worthy of our donations and resources, but there's certainly usually a favorable tax implication to be had there too. Is that kind of what this is? Both sides win? It
is. Everybody wins. And, it's been a rough couple of years, right. and a lot of the charities and stuff, their donations are down what they're receiving. But Arizona still has a lot of tax credits that benefit the taxpayers and the charities, and so it's very important to take advantage of those. And there's actually, people talk about double dipping and stuff. There's actually, with the Arizona tax credit, you can triple dip. And they have three different, well, they have a lot more than that, credits, but there's three main credits that are very popular with people that help out real good. One is called the Working Poor Credit, which Old Town Mission, Catholic Charities and stuff. Individuals can do $200, married couples can do $400. Then there's the school tax credit, which public schools, which charter schools are also in that category. But, so your public schools, charter schools, same thing. Individuals $200, married couples $400. Mm-hmm. And then there's for nonprofit schools, like the Christian schools and such. Those is $500 for individuals and $1,000 for a married couple. And those are three distinct different credits. And so a married couple could actually give up to $1,800 to these different charities and such. And it's just like paying the state of Arizona $1,800. Now, to receive that benefit on the federal side, you do need to itemize. Okay. And then you could take it as a charitable deduction on the federal side too. But
can I ask you a couple of things about those three that you mentioned? The one I'm kind of personally best familiar with is the school tax credit. Yes. And when we say tax credit, I think a lot of times folks think, well, it's a dollar for dollar, right?
Yeah. So like a married couple,
right?
You make $50,000 or whatever,
right?
And you owe the state, let's say $1,000.
Okay.
Well, at work, you took and paid money into the state through your paychecks, and you may have paid in $1,000 already. Well, that $1,000 would cover your liability. Well, so you're breaking even. But let's say that you went ahead and you gave the Clarkdale school $400
Right.
as a married couple. Well, now it's just like you paid into the state $1,400. You're going to get a $400 refund from the state.
Right.
And so, and let's say where a lot of people come up short, let's say you only paid in $600 through work and you owed $1,000, but you gave $400 to the school,
Right.
then you break even.
Right.
You paid in $1,000
And some folks say, well, what's the point of that? What do you think? It's that you direct that $400.
Oh, yeah.
It goes straight to the school rather than filling potholes in Maricopa County.
or just filling the bureaucracy. As
Right.
we all know, it's a black hole.
Yeah.
And so this way you can keep your money as local. You know where it's going. It's doing good to local schools, local charities, helping out your neighbors and people in the community. And that's very important.
Is it the same for, you mentioned the working poor in terms of the dollar for dollar and for the nonprofit school? Same thing?
Same thing.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay.
Very good.
Now, one of the things, not to be preachy, but with our audience, it would seem to me almost anyone listening or watching today will have someone or have some kind of connection to one of those agencies you mentioned, to a school, whether it's your grandkids or your neighbor's kids. One of the gals in the office here, her kids are grown and gone from school, yet she donates to the schools that her coworkers' children go to.
Yeah.
Now, how nice is that? Because you do enjoy the tax credit, but most importantly, you're aiming that money right where it may be most needed.
Oh yeah, every year the state is looking at contracting money going out,
Yeah.
and so the schools get hit all the time, and so the schools are so important.
Yeah.
And what better thing to do? And most people have some kind of tax liability.
Yeah.
And so, I have clients that they'll pay $25 a month or $50 a month or whatever they can afford, so they're not coming up with a lump sum at the end of the year.
Right.
But if you're able to and you haven't, give at the end of the year. And like you said before, the holidays is a time that a lot of people open their hearts and
Start thinking
they
about
can
that.
really, yeah. And
As we were chatting, I think at least once I said donate. And that's not probably the word I should use because it implies that you're giving away money, you're not getting anything back.
yeah,
And
in this instance, you get it back.
You
And
get it
so,
back.
It's a great thing
Right.
both ways, and it still amazes me every year. I think the state is going to take away those credits because they don't have any control over that money. It
Right.
goes directly to these.
It
schools
shocks
and
me
things.
I thought 5 years ago they would.
Oh yeah, and but there's a lot of lobbying and people
Right.
that and they understand. Well, I don't know if the bureaucracy understands, but people understand that without this money, the school's programs would hurt.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of pressure to keep it, I guess. But at some point, it probably will.
It seems like it would be very politically twitchy for someone to really try to go in and gain support to essentially raid these funds or close these, not loopholes, but shut it down, grab those charitable donations.
You'd
that
think
people
so,
are donating.
but they tend to do that quite often. Dark of the night, after midnight, in the third quarter when things are black and gloomy, they make changes and.
Don't overestimate the sneakiness of our legislature. All right, Lewis, let's go ahead and take a break. Already, just like that, this show always flies. Lewis has a lot of good advice and wisdom for you, and let's put your phone number out there.
639-1155.
There's no way we can cover everything today as we kind of wrap up our year-end tax obligations and take a good look at those. Lewis can help you outside of the show, certainly. But we'll talk more with Lewis Rice after this on Countywide.
If you're looking for a new pet that your family will cherish every day, consider adopting from a shelter. Shelters are the best places to find a new pet. That's where you'll discover healthy, loyal, and loving animals, eager to become a part of your family. A person is the best thing to happen to a shelter pet, so bring home your new buddy today. To find out more, visit theshelterpetproject.org.
Hey, honey.
What's up, buddy?
Honey, I think he's been smoking pot.
Call 911. It's okay, Joey. I'm here. Can you hear me, son?
I'm right here.
Are you with
Is he
me?
breathing?
He's not responsive.
Hello?
Honey, give me a steak knife and a ballpoint pen.
What are you
now,
doing?
Step. I'm gonna do mouth to mouth.
You know lots of ways to help your child, but do you know what to do if they're using drugs? The partnership at drugfree.org can help.
Cook foods to the right temperature using a food thermometer. 3,000 Americans will die from food poisoning this year. Keep your family safer. Check your steps at foodsafety.gov.
Hi, I'm Captain Larry Dawson with the Cottonwood Fire Department, here to talk to you about cooking safety in your home. When cooking with oil, make sure you have the proper size lid and an oven mitt nearby. If the oil does catch fire, cover the pan with the lid while wearing an oven mitt. Turn off the burner. Never throw water or baking soda on a grease fire. Never leave an open flame unattended, and always have a working fire extinguisher nearby.
Welcome back to the program. Countywide, our guest today, Nov1Rice Jackson, Hewitt-Rice Accounting. And I wanted to ask you something about that I'm unclear on. If, say, I donate to one of the charities here in Cottonwood, the Old Town Mission, say, and if I can give them cash, maybe I could take them a couple bags of groceries or cash in an equal amount, is my tax repercussion the same either way or no?
No. The tax credit, the dollar for dollar item, for most people, as long as they have a tax liability, is you need to give cash or check and tell them it's for the tax credit, and they give you a special receipt.
Gotcha.
Your food and stuff, they can give you a receipt also, but then you'd have to actually itemize in order to take that deduction. Also, if you give clothing and things like that, and you want to make a good itemized list of what you give. You know, the IRS, they say now that, you know, their collections are, I don't know, $350 billion short or whatever. Right. And they're trying to make that up by penalizing people and stuff and doing audits. And they're going to, so find something wrong, you don't have those receipts, they're going to disallow those deductions, and they're going to charge you that tax and a penalty and everything on top. So it's very important to keep documentation of whatever you do.
Okay. You say itemize, and I think people start to get a little nervous, and it does add a layer.
It does.
We bring it to you, so that's why, you know, we just say Lewis.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
But that is certainly, it seems like if you want to really kind of take full advantage of some of the offerings that are out there, you know, tax-wise, that's you need to go ahead and commit and do it that way.
You do, and you have to, you know, keep good records all year long, you know, medical expenses, taxes you pay, property taxes, your mortgage interest, everything, all of your charitable donations, things like that. You know, school teachers, that they used to have a good credit of $250 because they knew that school teachers were taken out of their own pocket for their classrooms. Right. Well, and you had to have documentation to do that, which is fine. But that credit is going away. There's unless they come back, and you never know at the end of this year with the super committee and everything, what is going to happen and what changes are going to come up. None have been passed yet. So.
Yeah. All right. A lot of what ifs and who knows and how about it's out there.
Exactly.
And speaking of that, let's talk a little bit. We're already in the heat of the 2012 presidential campaign. Everything heats up when that happens. Local elections, there's just more focus and more attention being paid. And one of the big ones, one of the issues there, and even more locally, certainly tax codes. At the federal level. Let's just say that for our program here. And there's a lot of proposals out there coming from the candidates. I think Rick Perry's got a flat tax proposal. Herman Cain with his 999. I don't even know what that means. But you do. So let's kind of start. Can we talk a little bit about that? What some of these proposals are? Say the flat tax, for example. I I kind of think I know what it means, but how would that work?
Well, flat tax would make it simpler, meaning people wouldn't have to itemize deductions and things like that. But right now, one of the ideas is a 20% flat tax. Well, 20%. 20%.
All right.
The thing about that is, right now, a married couple with 2 children, you can make roughly $94,000 and be in the 15% tax bracket.
Okay.
Well, so that married couple and children, they're going to pay more taxes. Whereas the people making more money than that, they'll pay less. Well, what's fair? You know, everybody's paying the same amount, but who is it going to affect the most?
And that's how it's positioned. You know, most people. Now, I'm not saying pro or con. I don't know, but that's how it's being positioned. That we're all paying the same, rich or poor.
Yeah.
Everybody's paying the same.
Right.
And from the outside, I think an awful lot of people are going to say, "That's a great idea. That's fair."
Because it sounds simple.
Because it sounds like we're all paying the same.
Yeah.
We're all paying the same percent.
Exactly. Paying the same percent, but you're paying a larger piece of what you actually have.
So folks that fits aren't going to like it. Folks on the other end are probably going to like it quite a bit.
Yeah.
And it just depends on where you land in that full, big, broad spectrum that is getting so much attention these days.
Well, they're saying, you know, that the 1%, the richest 1%,
right?
And that there's a study, and I don't know exactly who did it, but $330 some odd thousand broke off that 1%. So the people making more than that $330 some odd thousand were paying, or is 1% of the taxpayers. So those people, that 1%, they would get a great big tax advantage in a flat tax, whereas the other 99% would pick up the pie.
Now, has anybody gone out there and run the numbers? If this were to happen, how would it end up? Would we start refilling the federal coffers and get back?
I haven't seen that, you know, and at this stage, everybody just talks, and there isn't, you know, we're still trying to figure out the Obama health care thing. There's things in there people still don't know what the consequences of. And so there's a lot of things. But, you know, we talk about federal, but the local things, you know, are more too. I don't know if you realize, but businesses took a big hit this year. Business property taxes and stuff went up close to 20%. Property values didn't go up. People with vacant land, their property taxes went up. We have to keep those services. You know, the supervisors or whoever felt that those areas could afford the most to, you know, pay more to keep the services we need. You know, is that right? Is flat tax right?
There's going to be so much made of this here in the next year, particularly with an election year. Before the break, the 999, Herman Cain has pitched this. I don't understand that at all.
Well, they have a national sales tax also. And I actually think a national sales tax would be pretty good. The problem is that you give them another tax and it never goes away. And they play with it and do as much, you know, and so that's the problem is, you know, you give them another avenue to tax. But a national sales tax, anytime you bought anything, you'd be paying the tax there.
That might be nice because visitors would also pay that.
Oh yeah, everybody would pay it.
Everybody.
The more you buy, the more you'd pay. So if you're more affluent and can afford more items, you'd pay more tax. And the problem is, you know, if they'd earmark that to pay down the debt or something like that, that'd be great. But like I said before, you know, they come up with taxes and they say it's only going to last so long, but then there's always a loophole that keeps it around or whatever.
The words tax and sunset clause seem to fly at odds, don't they?
Good old, Benjamin Franklin, death and taxes, you know, the only thing.
He hit it right on the head. We need to take another short break. Again, our guest today, Nov1Rice, Rice Accounting, Jackson Hewitt. We'll pause for a moment. Countywide's back right after this.
Now, some action from the courts. Billie Jean King renewing her rivalry with Arthritis. First set, furious volley, and right to the net for a winner. Beautiful forehand there. Arthritis, stunned. And here, match point. Billie Jean with the ace, taking it in straight sets. Afterwards, a jubilant Billie Jean King.
Tennis is a weapon for me with arthritis. There's nothing like it for me to hit a ball, run to the ball, anytime, any court. I'm ready. Let's go.
What's your weapon against arthritis? Find out at fightarthritispain.org.
Packers. Viking. Packer. Viking. Packer. Viking.
Red state. Blue state. Vegan.
Carnivore.
We come from different places.
Uptown.
Downtown.
Optimist.
We come to different conclusions.
Half empty.
Half full.
But when we live united, we create real, lasting change in the building blocks of life. The education, income, and health of our communities,
Live
our families,
united.
Even the person next to us.
Live united.
Real change won't happen without you. So give, advocate, volunteer, live united. Sign up at liveunited.org.
Hungry?
The smallest moments can have the biggest impact on a child's life. Take time to be a dad today.
Hi, I'm Captain Larry Dawson with the Cottonwood Fire Department, here to talk to you about cooking safety in your home. The #1 cause of house fires today is lack of safety in the kitchen. Always set a timer while you're cooking. If a fire starts in your oven, close the door and turn the oven off. When kids are present while cooking, always use the back burners and keep handles turned in and out of reach of children. Never leave an open flame unattended, and always have a working fire extinguisher nearby.
Welcome back to the program. Again, it's Countywide. Our guest today, Nov1Rice. And here as we wrap up, I could talk to you for an hour today, and I'm sure our listeners would find much from it. But contact Louis if you have questions about some of the things we've talked about today. As you get into the year end, it can make your head swim, some of those things. And we can't promise this to every client, but I know that you found some very favorable advantages for us that we never would have known about. And maybe that's one of the best things that someone like you can do for folks. On that note, this year, you always, when you visit with us this time of year, kind of leave us with one thing. Here's what to look for or watch out for or to take advantage of. Do you have a lesson for this year?
Well, since we're talking about tax credits, I'd say take advantage of the Arizona tax credit.
Sure.
And then there's a website you guys have that you could look at a different charity.
Let me say it, azdor.gov.
Right.
Lists charities that folks can maybe become involved with.
It is. And then documentation. As I mentioned before, they're trying to make up for lost revenue and everything, so they're checking things out real close. So documentation on any tax, breaks or credits you're taking. Make sure you have receipts and documentation.
Bring it with you.
Yeah.
Okay.
And keep it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people ask, how long should we keep things? And they're trying to get better, and they're saying 3 years, but at least 7 years, especially if something big happens, you sell some property or home or something like that, or keep the longer you can keep things, the better. Especially if you're complicated, tax wise.
Gotcha. Okay. 7 years. C3 is what I've heard for a long time.
Yeah, because of of computers and databases and stuff. They're saying, but there's some things computers crash and things. So if you have written documentation and stuff, if you can keep it longer, it's best.
Well, the whole home mortgage thing. I mean, with that, oh my gosh, anybody into that situation is going to have a whole different ballgame to play.
Yeah, and there's people out there, we get phone calls, and they waited over a year to get their home buyer's credit and stuff, and now they're being asked for more documentation or stuff before. The adoption credit, they're being checked on more and stuff. It amazes me that if you're in jail, you can get these credits real quick, and the normal people, they have to wait so long and everything.
All right. Well, there's another show that we can do sometime as well. Louis, we thank you so much for helping out in the community. So many things that you're involved with here and out there with the public at large. Nov1Rice, Jackson Hewitt, Rice County. Give him a call if you have questions about things you heard on the show today, or just again need help kind of moving along here with your tax and financial issues. We thank you so much, sir.
Thank you.
Good to see you. It's Countywide. We'll see you next time.
This has been Countywide, a special presentation of Yavapai Broadcasting News. Listen in each Tuesday and Thursday as we tackle the hot topics and talk to the decision makers across Yavapai County. That's Countywide with Brad Miller and Paul David each Tuesday and Thursday on this Yavapai Broadcasting station.